What is up, YouTube? How is everybody out there doing today? So Steve, good old Send to Steve, put a sticker on my door and I had to rip it off because, you know, Steve, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm going to wreck your ass at the call out, so don't put your sticker on my door, man, because I'm about to come up to your house and put stickers all over your house. The entire house, dude. Every single sticker I own, all over your house and all over your Corvette. And then it'll be a DFR Corvette and it'll not blow up anymore. But today, we're going to be talking about the good old GMC Duramax. I hate this truck. I hate it. It's been nothing but freaking problems. I'm going to explain to you what's going on with her here right now. Alright guys, for the last, I don't know, freaking unbelievable, maybe 2 weeks now, I would say a week and a half, I've been having a problem with this Duramax of mine. I've been having this problem with this LB7. It's a 2001 GMC Sierra 3500 with an LB7 6.6 liter Duramax diesel turbo with 473,000 miles. Original OEM engine miles on it. Okay? Transmission's been rebuilt and it has a used guesstimated 100 to 200,000 mile CP3 pump in it as well. And new push rods, no big deal. Simple stuff, stock injectors as far as I know, stock block as far as I know. I mean, when we had it all apart, it was all, you know, it looked stock. So what was happening was I was getting a surging idling going on, and three codes, P0088, P0089, and P0090, which are all fuel pressure regulated or fuel pressure regulator apparent codes. They all have to do with the fuel pressure regulation. Basically what happens is when those codes pop up, all right, it's because for some reason the fuel pressure in the truck spikes to 172 MPa by what my scanner was saying, when it's only demanding 49 MPa at idle. So what happens is it spikes for some reason. It throws the check engine light, throws the codes, and then what it does is the ECU tries to take fuel away. It tries to defuel the truck, which then it makes it, you have this what's called fuel knock, and it's atrocious. I should have recorded it, but I didn't, because now the truck's fixed, and I'll tell you how I fixed the truck. Very simple fix. You guys got to pay attention to this if you're running into this issue with an LB7 or LBZ. I think they are the same thing. The LBZs do it as well. So basically it was getting a fuel knock. It was driving like crap. It would make all kinds of wacky noise in the engine bay. I mean, it was just terribly bad. So let's go on the engine bay. I'm going to show you where the CP3 pump is. Hopefully you guys can see it. It's pretty dark and dinky down there. You might not be able to see it, but let's go take a look and I'll show you what I did to fix the issue with the LB7, and I'll also show you the process of elimination, just talking to you guys basically on what we did to find what the issue was. So let's go take a look, guys. So I got my ladder, got my flashlight, because these things are nasty to work on, and as you can see, you can't really see where the CP3 pump is. Don't pay attention to the wires, but you can't really see where the CP3 pump is. If you take a flashlight though, you see down there, you might see it, I don't know, there's a plug right there. The light's right on it. That plug is your fuel pressure regulator, and that goes into your CP3 pump, which is ran off of the front of the engine, which you can't see because it's behind the timing cover and all that jazz. It's a pain in the ass. But there's 4 bolts that hold the CP3 pump in place. Actually, you know what? Let me show you a better example of what this looks like outside of the truck. Alright guys, here we have my old CP3 pump from a couple years back. I switched it out. This is the original CP3 pump that was in the truck itself, and this is actually the fuel pressure regulator that you've seen the plug on that was in the truck. This was the original, well, not the original one, but the replacement one that we had in the truck. When I pulled this CP3 pump out about 2 years ago, I did not swap the regulators over because I wanted to use the newer one, obviously the one that had less miles on it. So basically that plug that you were looking at goes right here. So if we were looking at it in the truck, so you'd be looking down on it kind of like this, basically there, and it bolts with 3 bolts on the back. So what happens is, or what I found out was this might have been bad. We don't know if this was bad, but we switched it out with the one from the 407, or actually when I swapped this out, the truck had 400 and, well, you know, it had over 400,000 miles on it is what it had when I swapped this one, this whole CP3 pump out. So now we have the regulator from the 400,000+ mile CP3 pump back on the truck again, and it seems to be working fine. But there is another little issue that we discovered on why it might not be working, and the process of elimination kind of came into play. We did a lot of thinking, a lot of research on the internet, and what we were discovering was that even after the regulator was changed, it still did the same damn thing. So we were scratching our heads. We're kind of like, what the hell is going on here? Why is this not working? Almost for sure thought that the regulator was bad. Now what we did before we obviously changed it out was we did measure the resistance on this regulator. It came out to be 2.7 ohms, and if you look on the side here, I don't know if you can see that, but if you look on the side there, let me see if I can see it in the camera here, it says 2.7 right there. So that's the ohms. The one that came off the original CP3 pump that was in the truck said 2.6 ohms. So it's really hard to get to. It's not a real good way to measure resistance on the one that was in the truck, which is that one now. So we had no choice but to take it out. So we took it out, measured it, and unfortunately it was the same damn ohms. So we're kind of like scratching our heads like, what the hell's going on here? Put it in, it still does the same thing. So the next step was to change my filters on the truck, and as you can see, I have two filters on this truck. I have the main filter right here. You can kind of see it, it's kind of hidden. Change that filter over, and then we go down here. I have a Fast 150 right there as well. So my Fast 150, we put another filter on that, and we also took the ball and the spring out of the line, the return line, and you know, kind of squeeze the spring a little bit. That way it wasn't boosting as much pressure, because a lot of people were saying the Fast 150s seem to do that as well, seem to have a problem with making the fuel pressure go too high. The next logical step was to look at the wiring and see if there's any issues with the wiring. And that plug that I showed you, the wires go up into this mess here. That's why this is all torn apart right here. We took those wires out, we went to the end of the plug here and we found those wires, and we ohmed those out and noticed that both wires had 0.0 ohms. So the wires were good to go. There's no break. A lot of people reported that those wires will rub through, they'll break, they'll have issues, and they won't connect to the fuel pressure regulator correctly, and you'll end up having that issue as well. All right, so obviously the wires were good on the truck. Everything was fine, everything was dandy there. So I started looking at the connectors of the plug itself, and when I was taking the plug off, I'm gonna tell you this right now, when I was taking the plug off, this is the second time this was apart. So Mitch took it apart once and then plugged it all back in together, and then I took it apart, took the plug off the back of the fuel pressure regulator. And I started thinking, well, what if these wires just aren't touching? What if they're not making a good connection to the fuel pressure regulator? Well, lo and behold, guys, that was the problem. Now, I don't know, honestly, if this was the issue in the beginning, or if it was just a wiring issue, possibly. It's hard to say. Regardless of that, we fixed the plug, stuck it in, you know, took the terminals out, put the terminals on in a lot stronger, crimped them down a little bit, and then plugged it all back in, started the truck up, and after about 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, the idle came down, sounded really nice, started to sound like the truck that it used to sound like again. Deleted the codes, checked out the actual desired pressure and the actual fuel pressure and the desired fuel pressure of the LB7 truck here, and everything was in order. Everything was working the way it was supposed to be working, which was crazy. It was just a plug. That's pretty much all it was one little plug that was giving me a nightmare for a week and a half. So for all you guys out there that have LB7s and other Duramaxes that might be falling into this situation, check the connection on the plug before you do anything else. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get to. You have to use long pliers and everything, but you can get to it. It's a pain in the ass to get to, guys. I'm not gonna lie. The other thing that was throwing us off here was I was kind of figuring, okay, if the Fast 150 pump was having an issue and putting too much pressure into the CP3 pump, you know, 10, 11, 12 psi from that Fast 150 pump, I ended up deciding to unplug the fuse. So that way the CP3 pump was not getting any extra pressure from the Fast 150 at all, and it was literally operating off of the CP3 pump alone, and that was it. What was happening at that point was it would still spike. I would still see 170, 174 MPa, but if I would give it a little bit of gas, it would drop down. It would drop down to 150s, 130s, 120s, 90s, 80s, 49 where it needed to be, but then it would go further to 30 and 20, and then the truck would stall out and it would lose fuel. And I think that had to do with the fact that since that plug might not have been 100% connected to the fuel pressure regulator, what happens, like in the beginning of the video, what I told you, the truck will start to defuel. And I think that is what kind of was happening without the Fast 150 pump hooked up. It was defueling, but it was defueling so fast that it would just stall the truck out and suck all the fuel out and be done. It wouldn't supply any more fuel to the CP3 pump, or the CP3 pump would not suck any more fuel out. So basically a week and a half of bullshit, a whole bunch of bullshit working to try to figure out what the problem is, and it all pretty much, I'm assuming, comes down to a wire not making a good connection on a fuel pressure regulator in the engine. So like I said, guys, if you ever run into something like this, heed my warning. Just check the plugs first. You might still have a busted fuel pressure regulator, and I still honestly think I did have a busted fuel pressure regulator in the beginning. But in the end, it ended up just being a loose connection on a wire. Very, very simple fix. Not that bad to do. If you do that first and it fixes your truck, freaking awesome. If not, then start to look a little bit further into the fuel pressure regulator, CP3 pump, Fast 150. The other thing you can check on at least the 01 LB7s is the fuel pressure sensor as well. That will sometimes cause an issue with making it pop those codes and do that as well. But if it is the fuel pressure sensor on an LB7, you will get a fuel pressure sensor circuit code as well if that is bad. So luckily, the truck was an easy fix, and she's running 100%. Again, I've been driving her like this for like a week and a half. It's been a big pain in my butt, but everything's fixed, so I'm very, very happy about that right now. But just a nice little video explaining what was going on with the Duramax, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. I know I sure did, so I'm definitely going to use that knowledge in the future to help diagnose any other issues that might come up with this almost 500,000 mile truck. So there you go, guys. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Instagram is Diablo Formula Racing. Facebook is also Diablo Formula Racing, guys. Deuces.